All right, if you want to make some real money in construction, you've got to learn how to estimate. So we're going to use a book called The Means Guide. Um, this is what all the big companies use for estimating their job costs. And there's several assignments in this. First one is just how to read the pages. It's really important to know some of the basics going into this before we look at the tables. The tables themselves, as we look in, pretty straightforward. You just have some numbers and descriptions to do. But if we're talking about total job costs, a few things we need to know. First of all, chances are if you're using a guide like this, you're a general contractor. Looking up here, I noticed that there's this statement right here, and this is for an installing contractor, which means you're the one doing just the work. Like in this case, you're just the one doing the rough framing and structure. If you're the general contractor, that means that you're collecting money from the customer and using that money then to pay your subcontractors. If you don't collect some for yourself, well, then you're not making any money, and how do you feed your family? So if we're a general contractor, we're going to add that 10% on there. For the purpose of these, though, we're going to be the installing contractors. So you don't need to consider this when doing your calculations down the road, okay? The other thing you need to understand about construction is that there's markup costs. So when we're doing a project, we've got material, that's the stuff we buy, labor, that's the people that put it together, and equipment, which we may or may not see on some of these. Okay, when we're looking at these tables, there's also something called a markup. And that is just that's the cost for errors, omissions, little things you didn't think of in the original planning. You add an extra 10% onto that. All of these tables do include that markup, so we're not going to add that on again. If you're working in a state that has sales tax, you'll need to add that on because they are not included here. No sales taxes are included. All right, so working in these tables, first thing we need to know is what units we're looking at. Okay, so in this case, you'll see the word unit, and we'll see something abbreviated LF. On this first assignment, I've included a page of abbreviations down here. So if we look down here on this page, we see LF right here, which is linear feet. Another one you'll see is SF, which you could probably guess is going to be square feet. Sometimes we'll do quantity, which is just like the number of a thing. When you're looking at the page, each page will have a graphic representation of the thing you're building. So on this page, we'll see flooring systems, truss systems, and roofing systems. And each system is broken down into bits. So if I'm building a floor, I'm going to have a berm and girder construction, and I might be using a solid wood beam. In this section, there's all the different beam sizes we might use. So if I'm doing a 2-inch by 8-inch beam, which by the way is not really 2 inches by 8 inches, it's 1.5 by 7.5, I'm going to be using this section of the table right here. So within that, there's different parts of that construction. We've got the demolish, the installation, and then this one is combined demolish and install. And if we add these together, if you add 88 and $1.36, you get 224. So do not add demolish plus install plus demolish and install, or you'll get double the job cost. So within each job, you've got your demolish, your install, your cleaning, and your painting. So you're going to add those 4 things together. Each job has a material cost and a labor cost, and many of them also have an equipment cost. So if we add these 3 prices together, $1 plus $1.36, we get $2.37. So if we're estimating, we really only need to look in the total column. But if I'm estimating my labor prices, for example, I might just look right here. Or if I'm doing this by myself and I'm not paying for labor, then I would just look in the materials column. Another thing to think about with a job is you're not going to show up and install just a single 2x8 and charge them 88 cents, that's demolish, charge them like $2.37. That doesn't even pay for my gas to get out there. So as you're looking at these jobs, when you figure out how much your total is, you're also going to look at the minimum charge for the job right there. Okay. If the total you get is less than the minimum, then you're going to charge the minimum charge for that job. So when you're doing these bids and these estimates, be sure that you're not shortchanging yourself. Look at those on each one. Okay, so let's just do a quick sample. Let's say I want to install a 2-inch by 8-inch beam and it's 10 feet long. Okay, so there's 2-inch by 8 inches, and we're going to do 10 feet. So I'm going to look over here for installing that. It's $2.37 times 10 feet. So 10 feet times 237 would be $237. Because we're going to move that decimal. Nope, sorry. You know what? I'm going to leave that error in there. I want you guys to see that I make mistakes too. I've got this magic erase button though, so I can do this. So we have 10 feet times 237. We would get $23.70 for that install charge. Okay, now let's say the customer also wants it cleaned and painted. So 42 plus 218 is going to be 0. 4 plus 1 is 5. Create the 1 is 6. 360. And we're going to have 10 feet of that. So basically we just move the decimal point over, so that's $36. Okay, so our total charge, if we were to install, clean, and paint, a 10-foot 2-inch by 8-inch beam would be $59.70. So I took these three amounts, the install, the clean, and the paint, multiplied that by 10, and that's what I got. Unfortunately, though, my minimum job cost is $221. So if somebody said, hey, how much would it cost to install a 10-foot beam? I would say that is $221. We're going to go into more detail on these in the future assignments. This is just a basic in a nutshell how to read it. Make sure you understand what the unit abbreviations are. Make sure you understand that 10% markup is built in, but if you're a general contractor, you're going to add 10% on top of what you see in the tables. And also, if you're working in a state like Washington, you have to add in your sales tax. That's it for now. Good luck.